Savannah. What's up, girlfriend?
Not much. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad that we could do this. Happy Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. We hosted this year, and we're used to doing several Thanksgivings, making all the stops. But with a 9-month-old, we're like, why don't we just host, and then everybody can come here? And everybody said yes, so we ended up
Yeah.
hosting about 24 people,
Oh my gosh.
which is a lot, but it was super fun, and it was nice to not have to make all the
Go.
stops with a small kid.
Yeah.
Make
I
it
was worried. I'm
easier.
like, yeah, is like your house baby proof if I go anywhere? I'm just like, I would have to hold the baby
Right.
the whole time. And so I just feel better when people come over here. But then like we hosted too, but it was only like 7 people and it was just too much for me. I was like, I don't even have plates for all this stuff. We were just putting things on regular plates because I had run out of I didn't even have any serving plates. I'm not an adult yet. I'm figuring it out.
Hey,
But
that's all
serving
good.
plates are a must.
It's just
And
about getting together.
yeah. Okay. So Sawyer is 9 months. What the flip?
Yeah.
What
You're
the
about to have
flip
a 1-year-old. Like,
in
what the
2
heck?
weeks?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, in 2 weeks. Wow. Time is
Yeah.
just flying by so fast. It's crazy.
It's so wild. And it's silly because I talked to a few girls like on the podcast, and something that we've talked about is something that's helped us along is having like a mom tribe, like a mom group. And I always
Oh, yeah.
refer to the Instagram group that we started, you, me, and Alicia. And oh my gosh, did that help me? Like, especially those first few months where I was like, what the heck is going on? Why am I up at these hours? What am I supposed
Yeah.
to do? What is this? Like any of that, like having you guys there along the way was so helpful. Just like,
Oh,
even if we
yeah.
didn't have answers, it was just more like venting, like, you guys, I'm up again. Like,
Well, just knowing that you're not alone in it. Like, I was texting you from the hospital, like, night 1 or 2, and, you're like, "You can text me anytime because 'cause I'll be up." And I'm texting you because I'm like, I just gave birth and I'm exhausted, and
yeah,
I'm feeding Sawyer for, like, 2 hours, which I'm like, she's not actually eating that whole time, but I don't know. I'm like, "This is all new." And
you
as soon
can't
as I set her
tell.
down, she's, like, crying. I'm like, "Okay, I guess we're coming back." And I'm like, I can't close my eyes because then a nurse is going to come in and be like, you can't sleep while you're holding your baby. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
They were very strict at the hospital. They had so many rules. It
yeah.
kind of like scared me almost. They're like, don't do that, which I know they're doing it for the baby safety. And you're like, of course I
Right.
want my baby to be safe. But then you're just, I don't know. I got there and I was really intimidated,
Mm-hmm.
but I left also really intimidated. I was like, also, I didn't know how to do the car seat. So I like brought it in. I was like, can you guys help me what to do here? Because there's like straps and things
My
and
gosh, that
everything.
car seat.
Yeah. I feel
I
like that
remember,
should be,
yeah, I remember they were so strict about like, you can't fall asleep while holding the baby and all that stuff. And then they wheel me out in the wheelchair holding her to our car. They don't even check the car seat and everything. I'm like you don't want to make sure we did this right. Like she's
it's,
this big. And
it seems
yeah.
like the goodbye is really like abrupt. Like it's a relationship that nobody wanted. They're just like,
Right.
please keep rolling in your wheelchair. Like we've got other moms to take care of. And they're just like so dismissive. And I was like, I thought we were friends. Like we ended up meeting like 6 or 8 nurses and we knew them by names and we're like, hey, like
Yeah.
whatever. And then they just don't care. They're just like, no, we're moving on. I'm like, oh.
Like somebody else has to use your bed now.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, but I still have a lot of questions. Like I'm still
Oh
really
yeah.
uncertain what the heck I'm doing. And I still don't know what the heck I'm doing. And now she's almost a year.
It's I forget who I talked to about this, but it's so crazy how they prepare you so much for the birth. Like we took classes from the hospital about like how to prepare for the birth and if you want to do a natural birth, epidural, C-section, whatever, preparing for the birth. But I'm like, where's the prep for when you go home? Where's the
Yeah.
prep for the baby? Like that's what I could have used a little more prep on.
Yeah, and I felt a little more confident, like, in the hospital because I felt like if anytime I had a question, I had somebody I could reach out to and ask them, like, whether there was a doctor or a nurse, like, somebody there would have an answer, whereas when you go
Mhm.
home, you're just like and it's weird because technically, like, with the technology and the moms, whatever, like, there are so many places and resources you could reach out to, but because there is such an overwhelming amount of information, I'm like, I don't know what's right. Like,
Right.
Googling one thing can give you so many different answers, like,
Oh,
when
and it
she started
contradicts
having
each other.
yeah, and I'm just like you guys aren't on the same boat, so I can't even hop on your boat because I don't know what's even going on here. But like, I think, I think I even messaged you guys in that group one time. She had like what looked like a little bit of like blood in her poopies. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And then you start
Mhm.
Googling, you start searching. It was late at night, so I couldn't reach the doctor. And it was just like, what's online is so scary. But then I ended up finding out the
Right.
truth is like, I drank too much milk and she wasn't supposed to have it. I don't know what I was doing with that milk, but it scared me. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
there should be like the book they give you for the afterwards, for the after stuff. And something we've
Right.
discussed is just the postpartum emotional state that really got.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is you may not be super receptive to all the information given to you or the advice, like, I'm sure we've talked about, like, just especially with, like, sleep advice and all that, like, put the baby down drowsy but awake and all that stuff, but you just have so much. I don't know, I had a lot of postpartum anxiety, I think, just anytime she cried, I was like, "I can't let her cry." And then I learned it was, like, it's okay, like, to let her cry a little bit here and there and all that stuff. But you learn as you go. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it was like you said, so much advice being thrown at you. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. And the truth is none of it's really right or wrong. You're allowed to choose what you feel works best for you. But the way all that information's put out there, it always seems so one-sided. Like you either have to do this or this, and
Mm.
there's no in between.
Yeah, and it's just like the mixture of things. Something I found out way too late was the babies have something called active sleep where they're still sleeping,
Mhm.
but they start like making sounds almost like they're crying because it's the only sound they know, and they start kind of stirring up. And for me, immediately I would just jump and I'm like, here we go. And what I was
Right.
actually doing was waking her up because if I had let her sleep, like do the things, from what I learned, she would have gone back to sleep.
Right.
But I thought that was her needing me, and so I was, like, up and ready to go, and I thought she was, needing mom, and I didn't know about this active sleep. She doesn't do that anymore, and I
Yeah.
learned about that afterwards, and I was like,
Yeah. It's
I
crazy how their
thought,
sleep changes.
"Oh my gosh, yeah." Like, it's a whole new thing, um, but it's something I wish I would have known earlier. 'Cause
Mhm.
that's something that I was, like, constantly up, and I feel bad because I don't think I let her sleep an appropriate amount because I didn't know she was sleeping. She was active sleeping, but I didn't know
Yeah,
about it
no,
till later,
that's
and then
yeah,
it
I
was too
didn't learn
late.
a lot about sleep until I just did a total deep dive on babies' sleep and sleep cycles and how, like, I think it was around 4 months that their sleep cycles change from that active sleep you were talking about into, like, a deep REM cycle to where they have more adult-like sleep.
Mhm.
And that was just mind-blowing to me. I'm like, "Wait, you mean they don't sleep like we sleep at first?" But it makes sense because they need to wake up to eat, and,
Yeah.
because they're going through just I mean, the whole first year, they're going through these huge milestones and growth spurts and stuff, and, they're just changing so fast, like, right in front of us,
It's
and
wild
so
to see that change. It's
yeah.
wild because almost sometimes take it for granted because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, well, she was crawling today, she's crawling tomorrow." You just kinda take it as is, and then sometimes I'm like, "Wait, no, 3 weeks ago, you weren't even crawling. Like,
Mhm.
you were just kinda scooting, kinda maybe rotating a little bit, but, like, not at all were you crawling." And then now she's getting up and she's almost walking, like she might walk today. She got up in, like, a mood. She got up 3 hours earlier than she's used to. She started talking all morning, and she's just, like, I think she might walk today, like, it might
Oh my
happen.
gosh.
She's weird today. She's just, like,
Yeah.
ready for something. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
She's ready
But
to
they
learn something new.
Yeah, and you start seeing that a little bit, like, sometimes I recognize where, like, her sleeping changes or her active changes where I'm like, "She's about to endure something really big." Like, she's downloading some great information from God where she's like, "I'm ready to take this big step." And it almost preps me where I'm like, "Okay, I'm about to take on something a little different. Like, we're
Mhm.
about to change here a little bit. I never know what it's gonna be."
Yeah. It's
But
it's
it gets
crazy,
good.
like, it's so true, and I heard this several times before, Sawyer was born, that the days are long, but the years are short, and that could not be more true. Because
Yeah.
I think the first like, we had a really tough newborn stage, and most of it was just because I was a brand new mom, and I didn't know what I was doing, and already I feel so much more prepared for when we do have a second kid, and just more confident in my decision making and everything. But yeah, it's just crazy, like how fast they grow. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that.
It'll come back up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, another girl I talked to who was so sweet, one of her like advice or like something she took away from her like pregnancy was that confidence. So to have a second kid, to have that confidence where that first time anxiety is lowered, as well as having your own credibility. Because like when you're a first time mom, you kind of listen to everything and it could be overwhelming and you try to pull a little from here and a little from there, but there's just so much. And at least for me, sometimes when I would make a decision, I was a little like nervous to tell others about it because I'm like, well, I know you guys are doing it a little different, but this is what I'm doing. Whereas once you've gone through it the first time, you have that credibility to stand strong and say, no, I've already been a mom. Like I can say this, or if somebody's offering you advice and you want to say, no, I'm going to do it this way because I can stand tall and say, this is the way that worked for me instead of, like I was kind of scared at first with like my mom, like her advice, because she's obviously had me and like my brothers, like she's so experienced as a mom. And so anything she would say, I'd be like, okay, I feel like I have to almost do it because you're so much more experienced than me.
Right.
Whereas now I'm a little bit more like, well, no, mom, I understand that this is the way you did it and you have so much experience, but now I'm in this boat and I feel strong and I have credibility to say, this is the way I'm going to do it.
Well, and every kid is so different and every mom and parents are so different. Like,
and things have changed a lot from like when our parents
were
doing
yeah,
it.
like all the recommendations and everything and just, I mean, life in general, but yeah, you have to do what's best for your baby and what's best for you. So like, I know we've talked about like sleep and how everybody, can have a different sleep schedule. And like, if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's great because then you can nap when the baby naps. I cannot nap when the baby naps, even though I have the freedom to. I just can't nap like during the day. And so it's so important that we get that sleep at night. And so for us, that was like having to do some sleep training was important for us just because I can't nap during the day. And so it's like, it's a fine balance of taking care of yourself, but learning to be selfless. So like you have to have that balance between taking care of yourself and being a little selfish, but also being totally selfless. And I feel like that's kind of motherhood in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it, is because it's so important to take care of yourself. Because again, if you're not getting sleep, if you're tired, if you're like overexhausted yourself, you can't give that energy to your baby. You're going to be cranky. You're going to be tired. You don't have the energy. And so you need to make sure that you're eating well, getting the right amount of sleep so you can be your best self to the baby. Right. But at the same time, you're kind of selfless where it's like you put things on the back burner because you do need to attend to the baby all the time.
Right.
And like you said, like, it's just, I love the way you phrase it. You have to find that balance between the two. And we are different because I didn't do the sleep training, but it's literally because I'm so needy. Like I just need her with me all the time. And it's on me. Where sometimes I'll even complain. I'm like, I have no time. I don't get a break. What the flarp? And then I'm like, well, no, I want to make sure I spend all the time with her. And so sometimes I'm like, well, maybe if we did it, and I'll go back and forth thinking of all the options. But when I talk to other people, I refer to you saying like, oh, my friend Savannah, she did sleep training and it went really well for her. Like, will you tell me actually about it? Because we've briefly talked about it, but I know it was really successful. And like, I think you said like after doing it for maybe 3 days, you had already started seeing great results in her sleeping patterns.
Yeah. So I had researched like just a bunch of different sleep consultants, mainly through like Instagram and stuff, and found a few, and I landed on the Peaceful Sleeper. So she's got an account on Instagram, but I don't know if you want to link it or anything like that. But I loved her method because it was similar to like the Ferber method, where let baby fuss like in increments, and but she was very clear like in her program that like you're in charge, you follow your gut. Here are the options. Like she is very much, not one size fits all, which I was like, oh, okay, that makes me feel better that I have options. Like you're giving me options. It's not like you have to do this. And so I just kind of pulled from all the information she gave me and was able to piece together what worked best for us. And so we ended up going with a modified cry it out and let her cry for like 5 minutes, go check on her, and I'd soothe her until she's completely calm. And so it's whatever like I felt comfortable with. Like I was learning her cries. So like if she was super worked up, like I wouldn't let her get to a point where I felt like it was just too much. And so doing that just at bedtime for a few nights and stuff. And then I noticed that she started to fall asleep quicker and with less fussing. And then eventually, I mean, she's at the point now where I just, read her some books, put her in her sleep sack, lay her down, and she just goes to sleep. And not to say that we don't hit regressions and have trouble with sleep still. It's just it's helped her develop that skill a little bit more to like make it easier for her to fall asleep and get herself back to sleep when she wakes up. But no, I'm like, we've still had times where we've had to rock her and oh my gosh, I soak up those moments now. Cause now when she falls asleep up on my shoulder, like she did as a newborn, when I'd feed her in the middle of the night, like her feet are hitting my thigh and I'm like, I cry every time. So every time I come out, my husband's like, are you okay? I'm like, she fell asleep upright on my shoulder again. And so, I soak up those moments, I think a little bit extra now that they're a little bit more few, but overall for us as a family, having her like on a little bit more consistent schedule and sleeping has been very beneficial for us, like just all the way around. Because it's funny, I didn't ever think I wanted to do sleep training. Like when I first got into it, I'm like, no, like I'm gonna get up with her when she wakes up. And then it got to a point where I was like, I feel like I'm going crazy because she was waking up a lot, and we had a lot of issues early on with her and like some tummy troubles.
Yeah,
and
you
then
had some tummy issues.
Yeah, and then it was just, I think it kind of threw her sleep into this pattern of, even maybe when her tummy was a little bit better, she was just so used to consistently waking up, but it was like every hour to 2 hours. So it was like not sustainable. And so once we kind of worked all that out, it's just, for us, it's been a game changer. And not to say that like it doesn't suck listening to your baby cry and like having to kind of push through that a little bit, but like you trust your mom gut. Like I'm like, if she needs me and I know she needs me, I go in,
Yeah.
So it's just, it was a big learning curve. Like it really helped me figure out her cries and when she was crying because she wanted me versus when she really needed me. And you had to find balance for sure.
I think that's the big important thing, is knowing their communication. So knowing their cries, and it helps them also understand that like when I make a certain noise, mom will be here or not. Like they need to learn how to communicate with you and what signals will communicate the right thing to you. And so it helps both parties to know and learn from that. And I mean, I totally get it. Like when I think about the newborn days when she was waking up every 2 hours, I was just so tired. Like we would be texting about it. I'm like, you guys, I'm just tired. I'm just really exhausted. And so to continue with that sleep schedule, there's no chance I would have been able to do that. Like I would have totally jumped into we got really lucky with Paisley. She started like sleeping through the night at 12 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, it was just like, so we just kind of let her. And then our pediatrician said to keep feeding her to make sure like the breast milk, keeps continuing, like to keep going. And then, but that's the thing. So like we gave her a free roam sleeping schedule. And then now she goes to sleep at 2:30, although she wakes up late. But I'm like, after midnight, I'm tired. I'm like, girl, we've been crawling.
You're
and
wired to go to bed before then. Like your internal clock is telling you need to go to bed before then.
And I'm just like, how do you not get tired? Like because I thought, I'm like, well, maybe she's overtired. Maybe we need to move her schedule a little bit. And like, we've tried different things, but she wakes up and then she's awake for 2 hours and then she takes her nap. Then she's awake for 3 hours. Then she takes another nap. And then she's awake for 6.5 hours and goes to sleep.
You shifted that whole schedule there.
And so I'm just like, how do we just rotate all of that to like wake up at 7 or 8 and then go to sleep at a normal hour? But she won't. And I've tried searching some things. I'm sure there's lots of advice, but so far I've landed on like, that's just her sleep schedule. And
Hey, if it works for you, do it. I mean, if it gets to a point where it doesn't, then try
Yeah.
some other options. But if it's working for y'all, I mean, don't stress it, you know? Um,
It's been going all right. Like, I love that she has her own schedule, and sometimes I'm like, "What is with this late nights?" But, like, Jake goes to bed at 3, 4 in the morning like he's always had, and that's just what he does, and so I'm like,
so you're saying
just
she
because
takes after dad.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I was like, I wanna go to bed early, but I'm like,
Right.
I can't judge her off of my behaviors and my wants, like, if she takes her sleeping pattern after her dad, that's just something that we should get used to and, like, be aware of,
Mhm.
and I'm, like, blessed to have the freedom to do that with her, to stay up late, and if I had to go to work, if I couldn't do things from home, I we would be in a different plan,
Yeah.
100%, 'cause I can't imagine staying up that late and then going to work, like,
Oh my gosh, like,
you're
getting up at 5 a.m., get ready for work, and oof,
yeah, so
man.
that's what,
Yeah.
like, 3, 4 hours of sleep a night, and then you have a full, because so much of your energy goes into things, you might not even be physically tired, let's say, but, like, mentally, there's
Oh,
just so
yeah.
much, and so, I don't know, I've always loved the fact that we kinda became parents at a very similar time, but we do
Mhm.
things a little bit differently, and that's actually how this podcast started, like, I was texting you guys, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about this," and you guys supported me so much that I was like, "Wait, let me get this off the ground right now," because I was talking about, like, maybe next year when her sleep schedule, like, she doesn't need
Yeah.
me as much, but you guys supported me so much that I was like, "Wait, let me do this," and then we got it up within, like, 2 weeks or something.
You hit the ground running, girl. You're making it happen. That's
But
awesome.
you supported me so much where it was so I was like, "Wow." This is all to wrap it up in the fact that, like, I've always really adored, admired, and respected our friendship. Like, with our babies that we can do different things and similar things and ask each other for advice, but also, like, there's just so much love. Oh, also for people who are watching. So I started the really quick, but if you guys see my little, like, frame, it started with this, and then Savannah said, "Hey, it's kind of hard to read your thing." And I was like, "Okay, let me change the font color." And then I changed it to that. And then she's like, "It's still a little bit hard." And we talked about it. And now this is the new one where it's easy to read. And you know what I love about that is that you love me so much to be like, "Hey, I want you to succeed and be great. And I'm not gonna just gonna tell you that things look great. I'm gonna show, like, talk to you what I think, like, give you my true honest opinion." And, like, I don't know. I don't find that like, I have some friends, some really great ones, but, like, acquaintances wise, people sometimes will just be like, "Yeah, that's great. That's so cool you're doing that." And, like, I don't get actual feedback. I'm like, "Is it
Right.
good though?" Like, I can't improve if I'm keeping the same stuff. And, like,
Yeah.
that respect that you have for me to, like, want me to
Aw.
succeed, we've always shared that in motherhood as well. Like, "Hey, this worked for me, it might not work for you. This worked for you, this might not work for me." But, like, we're still
Yeah.
friends, and, like, I don't know, I really love that. I've really loved
Aw.
our, like, friendship relationship, and
Me too.
yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
I hope other moms, I hope other just people in general have friends who can be lovingly honest towards them. Like,
Yeah. That's the tricky thing is, nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. And I think it could be easy to be like, "Well, she worked hard on that." Like, I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I literally just want to see you succeed. And
yeah.
you know, having a husband who's done like graphic design and stuff, and just an example, like you always say that legible is you need stuff to be legible.
Yeah.
But with anything else in life, if somebody's struggling or you can tell they're working really hard, but you can see how maybe they can improve something. You want to tell them, but you don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings. So I could see where that's maybe where people struggle.
Yep.
And then, with motherhood, it's just a totally different ball game. That's why like I share with everybody our experience of sleep training because I want everybody to get sleep and know that like your baby can sleep. So I've kind of become very passionate about that now. Because if you had told me with Sawyer that when she was around 3 months old or so, that she could be sleeping through the night and I could lay her down without her fussing or not even fussing for long, I would have called you a liar because I thought it's just not possible. But it is. And so and I only know her, so I don't, that's why I can't ever tell you, like, you have to try this, like it
Yeah.
may not work for you. And like, even if it worked for Paisley, it may not work for you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like every mom, that's why I said, like, every kid's different, every mom's different. And so you got to do what's best for both of you.
It's hard to like maneuver those waters because of course every family is different, but then you also see
Mhm.
it like within the same family and they have different kids. And so the way you raise your firstborn is going to be different than your
Right.
secondborn. It might be similar. I think that anxiety and the anxiety lessens, but the confidence rises. And so I'm not saying it's easier, but I would think I can see how, mentally it's a little bit easier because you're not going into the
Mhm.
full unknown. There's a little
Right,
bit
right.
of practice and experience with it, but still like same mom and dad, same
Yeah.
family, but like the kids are different and
Well,
maybe
then
the
if you're
schedule
adding one
changes.
to that, if it's more than one
Yeah.
kid on top of that.
We were watching some show yesterday about these like crazy cool buildings that were remade into homes. They had like a fire station, they rebuilt it to home, and one did like a church. And this one family, they redid a schoolhouse into a home. And this lady was raising 6 boys. She had
Oh my
6
gosh.
like big old boys, and then her husband, and they needed the space. But like, I was just thinking, 6 boys.
That's crazy.
Like, I've heard from my mom friends who are boy moms that the boys are already just completely different from the girls. Like, girls are a little
Mhm.
more calm and just a little bit more gentle, and the boys just kind of want to run through the wall. And then I'm like, times that by 6. You're
Oh
like
my
running a
gosh.
football team as a mom, and they're just constantly eating and probably
Yeah.
wrestling. And like with Paisley, I'm worried about her kind of like hitting something, like we give her the whole house to roam, but with boundaries to make sure
Right.
she's still being safe. But we want her to like access everything, get familiar. And I'm like, how do you do it with 6 boys? Like, I just picture like them going in the kitchen, opening cabinets, stirring a pan. The other one kind of catches it, throw it through the glass window, and then runs, knocks over the TV, and then everybody's going chasing the dog. And you're just like,
Well, I'm
I don't,
sure it's like I'm sure it's like with us, like, not knowing how to handle having one kid, you adapt. So, I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure once you add, like, the 4th, it's probably nothing to add 2 more because it's like, well, it's already chaos, why not add 2 more? That's kinda how we felt like on Thanksgiving when we had so many people, and then, we had a friend who didn't know what her plans were, and we're like, "Hey, come on over." Like, it's
might as
already
well.
crazy anyway, like, just come on over, and it was great, like,
I
but,
think that way about food. Like if I'm cooking, I'm like, if I cook for 1 or for 20, like if I have to cook pasta, it's still going to take that amount of time. I just get a bigger pot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
of course, there's more that goes to it. Like if you have to peel more potatoes or peel more vegetables, like, but you're still going to go through the same process in the same time of like cooking it. It's just, you got to do a little bit more.
A little bit more.
But 6 is, although from
6 is a lot.
from another mom I talked to, something that is helpful is, as your kids get a little bit bigger, they start taking on some of the responsibility. So they can start and like playing with the baby, playing with the newborn, so you can take a break and they're just there entertaining the kid while she's like in her swing. And that's helpful because then that you can
Mhm.
go get work done or go
That is
and just,
something I've heard about the other kids entertaining the youngest one. And we kind of noticed that whenever we dropped Sawyer off to stay with my sister-in-law and our niece and nephew, she was like, the kids just kept her entertained the whole time. And so when she came back home, she was kind of bored with me because I'm not jumping around dancing and singing and stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to start jumping
yeah.
around a little more.
And she probably
But,
slept well too. If she gets like tired out with all of that activity and like
oh yeah,
new people
yeah, she
excited,
did
I'm sure
great.
she slept better.
Mhm.
But something we don't have is I don't have any moms with kiddos at all nearby. Like Paisley
Yeah.
plays with dog. She plays with me. She has her dolls, but like she hasn't really seen a baby. We went to like a birthday party when she was like 3 months, and so
Yeah.
she saw another baby then for like an hour. But I don't think she even remembers anything then. But like she doesn't have any baby friends. And sometimes I'm like, I hope you're not
Yeah.
like
Do you see if
missing
there's any like
that.
baby classes nearby or anything? I actually haven't tried that
Yeah,
yet, but
I
I have
haven't looked
plans
into
to.
that.
Yeah.
I have plans to look into like mommy groups. Jake said he was like looking up something, but they have like a mommy stroll in some park nearby where you like just you and your baby just stroll with other moms and you can just catch up and talk. I feel like I want to do it, but if I'm being honest, I'm a little nervous. Like I feel like it's first day of school and I have to go meet,
Yeah.
new people and you gotta like, will they like me? It's silly because I still, I'm 30 now, but I get these nerves. Even last night, I had this crazy dream that I didn't wake up in time for this. Then my makeup was like not matching up and I couldn't figure out my eyeshadow. Like I don't even wear eyeshadow. Like I don't even know what that's about. And then I was like trying to text you that things weren't working out. And then I was like, don't worry, I'm going in my room right now. And then I went to my room and my lights were just like everything was pushed back, nothing was aligned. And then I woke up and I was like, this was just but I sometimes have anxiety of things not going well. But it's this
Yeah.
like the day before school kind of nerves where you're just like, I don't know, at least for me, I would like stay up and didn't want to fall asleep. I didn't want to be late. I didn't like, and so I still get that, which is so silly because I just like need to move on from it. Now I have my own kid, but I
Right.
get that. I get that with this. And so thinking about like the mommy group, I get nervous.
That's the stuff that you don't think about when you have a baby. You're like, oh, well, this class is for the baby, but you're not thinking about, oh, well, I'm also going to be meeting other moms, and I think, yeah, mom anxiety is real. Like I've seen, I feel like I'm so much more aware of it now than I was
Yeah.
before having a kid. But yeah, I mean, I was nervous to do this, like, and we've talked several times, but
It's such a mixture of emotions because there's like this giant mom thing that's going on TikTok. And so I constantly see different advices and different things people do. And
mhm.
then sometimes there's so much love for all the mom stuff. And sometimes there's so much just like, because I mean, it's just internet. So there's just trolls and who just people want to comment something funny.
There's a
But like
lot of mom
sometimes
shaming out there, and you're
there's
like,
so much mom shaming out there.
yeah, yeah, and
And then,
it would be even more terrifying for it to happen in person, like, but
yes,
so I see where like your anxiety there, but I know it's,
yes,
but the truth is, like, are those people you want to be friends with, though? If we're gonna be mom shaming
exactly.
each other, like, come on.
Exactly. I guess I'm just nervous for the whole thing of like doing it in the first place. And from what I remember meeting new people, like I haven't met anybody new in such a long time. Like it's so weird, but like I just haven't.
Well, with the
But from
pandemic and everything, like,
I've been in
we,
the house for like second
yeah,
year now. Like I just don't need to go anywhere. We order all of our food and then I'm just with Paisley. We don't have anybody to go see. And like I haven't left. I don't even know what the world looks like anymore. Like I hear things on the news and I'm like, for real? That
oh
can't be
man,
true. But I've just been
yeah.
home, kind of like a homebody full on now. But I don't know. I
Oh,
have everything I
I
need, I guess.
realized the first 2 months of Sawyer's life, I didn't leave the house except for like 2 pediatrician appointments. I was like, I should probably get back out. And now, like, Sundays, like when we do church, that's my day to like socialize with other adults and stuff. But I'm like, otherwise I'm home, with her. And so
Yeah,
I do feel like I had some social anxiety, like going back out. And
I think that's what it is.
yeah.
I think you're right. I think I have social anxiety.
Yeah.
I
Well, and
think you're
like,
spot on.
I think I remember what I was gonna say earlier when I was when I lost my train of thought, but, like, the first, few months of, like, the newborn stage, every day starts to just become so the same that I told my husband, I'm like, "I feel like I am in it's Groundhog Day. Every day is
Yeah.
Groundhog Day." And,
Yeah.
once you kinda get into that loop, like, getting out of it is hard.
It's true. I go on both things where I'm like, if I'm tired, if I'm really tired, and I've had a really long day, at the end of the day, I'm like, let's just go to sleep so we can do it all over again tomorrow. Kind of like that attitude, which is just such a poor attitude. But then it just feels because like it's the same times. And then we do the kind of the same things. We play here, we play there, we do this, we work on this, we do this. And then sometimes I'm like, she changes so much in a day
Yep.
that I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I can't
Right.
assume the sleeping schedule. Something's going to be different. And I go between the two, literally depends on how tired I am.
Oh, yeah.
But I I did for a while, and I kind of got myself out of it, but I was stuck in this way where I just all I heard was like baby noises and our baby toys and
Oh,
baby
phantom
sounds and like,
cries.
oh my God, phantom cries are just bonkers to me. And phantom kicks once I learned about that, because I was like, why do I feel like there's a
Oh my
baby
gosh,
inside of
yes.
me?
That's one
What
of the
is
other things
that
nobody
about?
tells you about.
Yeah, why wasn't that anywhere? Like when it happened, I was like, that's not real. Like, what is going on? Then you feel it again. Like, I'm just like, what
You're
the
like, "Not
flarp?
yet. Not yet. Not
Yeah,
again." Already.
I think it was you that told me in the group about the phantom kicks, and I was like, wait, that's what it is. That's what's been happening to me, and I didn't have a name for it.
Yeah. Yeah, because somebody else told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's good to
You know what
know."
I didn't know about, and I don't know if you have felt this, but I didn't know there was a term for this, but feeling touched out. Did
Mhm.
you I didn't know there was a term, but I would come to the end of the day where I just don't want anyone touching me or hugging me, or like if my parents came over, I'm like, please don't hug me. Like they want to hug me because they love me, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I just constantly pulled and yanked and touched and moved. And it just becomes not aggravating because, like, of course it's your baby and you love them, but having so
Right.
much contact and being so needed all the time. And then
Yeah.
I saw it where some mom was like, oh yeah, feeling touched out, this and this. And I was like, oh my gosh, nobody told me, but that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
experiencing, but I didn't have a
It's
name
so
to
good
put
to
on.
know. Yeah. Yeah, I experienced that as well a little bit. Mostly like, the first month, first few weeks, like well, actually, probably until I was done nursing, especially when she'd get really frustrated and like does the whole like headbutt thing on you and swatting at you. That's when
Yeah.
I would start to be like, I just want to sit on the couch by myself or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's hard. And if you don't know what that is or if that's a thing, you start to feel like guilty for feeling that way or just wondering what's wrong with you. Um,
Yeah.
like
No,
the
I hit
things
a
that
lot of
moms need to
that.
know.
I hit a lot of that, just things that I didn't know. And so I would feel either guilty for feeling a certain way or
Mhm.
felt alone because I'm like, well, other moms are probably like better and they don't feel this way. And I'm just here by myself feeling, this certain way. But then you talk to more people. That's what's silly is you talk to more moms and then you
Yeah.
kind of see that everyone kind of goes through all that stuff. And so then I'm like, why with all the mom shaming? Like, we
Yeah.
all go through these really similar experiences in very
Mhm.
different ways. And you would think that there would be more heart towards it. There'd be a little bit more of like understanding and appreciation. Yet,
You
and maybe
know,
it's just girls, because girls that, like in high school, whatever, get jealous and a little catty. And so maybe with like the mom thing, there's a different, I
I
don't,
think there's a lot of that, but I also think people who are judging are people who haven't been through it, like, or
there is
had
that.
that same experience. Be
Yeah.
like their kid probably doesn't do that, or maybe it's a little different or they have a different demeanor. So like, you know what I mean? Like their kid's different and they're different. But if they haven't been through what you've been through, I think people are more inclined to just more likely to judge. But we
It's just
shouldn't do
odd to
that.
me. Yeah. I'm just like, if your kid is different, shouldn't you be more like my kid's different? So I just feel like all kids are different and I don't know.
Mhm.
I want more love. I want more peace and love in
Yes,
the world. That's all. And I think about that
seriously.
sometimes with like, okay, well, like right now she doesn't have friends necessarily, but like when she does get out and have friends, I want people to be nice to her. Like
Right.
I want
Gosh.
I want everybody to be nice to her. I'm not ready to handle like friend fights or like God forbid when
I
she's
know.
dating or any of that. Like
Oh gosh. Don't say that
it's
too loud. Payne
I
might hear you.
know, I know. Oh yeah. Sorry,
I'm
Papa
just kidding.
Bang. Sorry, Papa Bang.
Oh, I
No, but
know.
it's weird to think about. Like when I think about like when I started dating, I was like, I was so ready and like my parents didn't know anything, like whatever.
And then you reflect back and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I
I was
didn't
so
know
young.
anything."
I was so young. Like the first time you're in love and they're like, no, you're not in love. And I'm like, you don't know anything. And then you're just like,
It's like, just because you said that, I'm gonna be even harder.
yes. Yeah. I swear to God, my first relationship, I probably stayed in it longer. It was like 3 years, but I stayed in it longer just to like prove my parents wrong, probably. And it was just so not for me. Ugh.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't so stubborn. I'm a Taurus and I'm just so stubborn. Ugh.
And now you're
It
thinking,
hurts.
Like, I wonder if Paisley's gonna get that from me. I think that about Sawyer. I'm like, I wonder if she's gonna be stubborn like me, or like, what is she, how is her
Yeah.
personality gonna develop? And I'm like, how am I gonna handle if she's like a tiny me, or if she's, I mean, she's gonna be her own
Yeah.
person, obviously, but it's like you said, when they have friends and you don't want them to have, those fights and friendships and get hurt and all that. And it's like, you think about how we don't want them to get hurt now by like baby proofing everything. But it's like,
Yeah.
at some point, like she's bonked her head several times now. And the first time was especially hard because it was my fault and I accidentally bonked her head on the crib. But it startled her, but like she was okay. And then I had to remember like it was like she's gonna bonk her head at some point and it's gonna happen again.
Yeah.
And I just gotta teach her that it's okay. So now every time she bonks her head, I'll like either smack my head with something or like bonk it on the same thing and like make an obnoxious sound and make her
Yeah.
laugh. And so now she's actually, if she bonks her head, she kind of looks at me and smiles a little bit. So I'm like, okay, well, this is working. And so it's just like teaching them to be a little bit more resilient.
Yeah.
Not to say
That's
that they won't
physical
get hurt.
pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
When it comes to like the emotional pain,
that's
I'm
where it gets a little tricky.
yeah, I'm sure like as they're growing, I've definitely seen myself grow and develop. Like as a mom, there's
Mhm.
certain things, there's certain times that I just feel sometimes ready for. And I can't explain it. It's just like in my heart where I'm like, oh, I can finally let go of this one thing. I can now,
Yeah.
like I started out with her, like being really close to her to make sure I was supporting her. And then there was a day where I was just like, today I can step back. Like it
Mhm.
just is in me. And I'm like, today I can let go a little bit. And there's these certain times that it happens. And so I'm sure when it comes to it, there's these growing pains. And as she learns, I will also learn how to handle it
Yeah.
and be there for her. But I still think about it where I'm like, I want to prevent her from any hurt or any pain. And
I know.
so you just kind of think ahead when like, what are the things that you can do? And like, kind of like you said, what are the things or traits that she's going to take from you that I'm like, I maybe certain things like this anxiety that I have or whatever. I don't want her
Yeah.
to have that at all. She's already super fearless. Like she's just
Yeah.
bonkers fearless. It's scary. It's so scary that she wants to climb and like go for things. And I did similar thing where I like bunk my head too, but now she thinks it's really funny. So sometimes she'll go towards the wall and just like look
Oh
at
no.
me
And now she's like, it's a
and
game.
then kind of go bonk and waits for me to go bonk. And I'm like, dang it, I don't know but whatever. She's happy about it. But the
Right.
girl's fearless. I am a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. I don't
But
know if there's anything that's gonna keep her back.
like you said, they keep changing. So she might surprise you. She might be fearless about trying new things now, but who knows? I mean, it's crazy how much they change, like their personality.
Yeah.
Like Sawyer went through a very short separation anxiety stage, and I
Mm.
thought it was going to be longer. Um, but now, like when we take her to church, she's reaching out for strangers. So now I got to teach her about stranger danger. But like
Also that.
she's like a little social butterfly now, to where like for a week she was like only mommy, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I thought you were going to be a little bit more introverted, a little bit more shy, and now you're a little social butterfly. So
Wow.
you never know. Like it's crazy. And then she could
Yeah.
go back to being shy at someday. Who knows? But yeah, like they change so fast. There'll be a few days that go by, and then we wake her up in the morning, and Bane and I are just looking at her, and we're like, she looks older today. Like
Yes.
it's
There's
crazy.
just something about it. You look at him, you're like, you're bigger today.
Today
You're
you look
bigger.
older. Something's
Today you look
different.
yeah. I think only parents would know that about their kids. I'm sure like people who see them, they're like, of course they're growing. But like I think as a mom or a dad,
It's
you
crazy when
just
you catch
see
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's these like moments, and whether it's just characteristics or mannerisms, or there's just this like
Mhm.
energy, and you're like, you're older, like you're bigger, you're older, you're wiser. Like today, something became more concrete instead of just like willing, like you're
Yeah.
sturdy, big, smart baby. And they get so long. They just get, 'cause sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you were from here to here, and then now you're this full size baby with like I don't know, I always think of like when she
Yeah.
was little and couldn't really like move and she was just like all noodles. And
Oh,
then now
yeah.
she's like sturdy and can push
We
up
kind
and
of
move.
talked about this yesterday about how, like, when they're newborns, they just mold to whatever is holding them or whoever's holding them, and now Sawyer's just solid. She's just solid, like, she is a definite shape now, and it's funny how we say, like, they're getting longer instead of taller, and I'm like, at what point
Yeah.
you say that they get taller? I guess when they start walking.
I guess when they're standing, you start measuring them, and you're like, okay, you're
Right,
taller.
but it's just
It's silly
funny.
because when you think about because we're so built and so used to our own bodies and how we are, like getting
Mhm.
up for us is so like, of course, you can just stand up. But to think if you couldn't, like if you just couldn't and you had
Right.
to learn how to fully carry your own weight,
It's
and
gonna
then
be
you're getting
frustrating.
teeth. Yeah. And then there's just like not being able to express yourself. So you can't fully
Mhm.
communicate or trying to say something, but like they're
Yeah.
not really knowing what you're saying. You
That's gonna be
just,
so hard.
it would be so difficult. It
You
would just
see why
be
they have,
so
like, these, like,
difficult.
sleep regressions now and stuff, and why they have these, like, growth spurts where they're just a little bit crankier and stuff. Because now Sawyer's learned to, like, she claps when you clap at her and waves when you wave at
Yes.
her,
Ah,
um, and you could tell she was so excited when we had that communication, like, where I do it and then she does it and I do it back. Because that was, like, our first real
like you
communication where we
understand me and I
Yeah,
understand you. Ah,
yeah.
it's such a, it's hard. So this is kind of relatable, but maybe not. When I moved from Russia to America, I didn't know any English.
Mhm.
And I had to go like immediately to school. I really struggled talking to people. I really struggled getting my, like, what I wanted to say. And I
Yeah. Oh, I
couldn't because
can't
I know the
imagine.
words in like, it was difficult. And I knew the words in Russian, but like that doesn't help anyone. And once I started learning English, I picked it up really well, but sometimes I would hear an unfamiliar word because I learned it through conversation. So sometimes I would hear an
Mhm.
unfamiliar word and I would ask, what does that mean? And people would laugh at me because it's something that everyone knows is just not commonly used in a
Mm.
conversation. And so then I was like the dumb one, like, how do you not know that word? And I was like, you guys just don't use it like often in a conversation. But sometimes I'll think
Yeah.
back to those days of like not being understood or not being heard or not
Mm.
being just that when that communication's gone,
Yeah.
it's really difficult to just ask for normal things. And so I try to be really patient with her when it comes to
Yeah.
communication. But once she's finally started like waving and you wave at her and you're just like, you get me and I get you. And
Yeah.
we just taught her sign language for milk. But
Oh.
now it's so sweet and
Yeah.
it's so sweet. But now anytime she does the sign, mom appears. So now it's this like universal sign for bring me mom. Like, where's mom? Like, she's so good at it too. She's like,
That that's
and
so
she'll just
funny.
look at Jake, and he's like, okay, milk. Yeah, mom. Okay. And then, so now I'm trying to figure out, we're trying to like learn mommy and separate them. But she's just like, no,
Separate
this
'em,
gets
yeah.
me exactly what I want. So, like,
Yeah.
give me the mom.
That is
But
so
it's
funny.
cool. It's cool to know that, like, you're understanding me. Like, even
Mhm.
the claps, like, when and we would start doing it, and she's like, wait, you're doing what I'm doing, and we're on the same
Yeah.
boat. Because before that, you're kind of communicating through like eye looks, and you're just
Facial
like,
expressions and yeah.
yeah. So you're just like, I'm smiling. Are you happy? And they're just like, I don't know. I might be sad. Like they only kind of know really happy or just kind of tired and sad. And so when
Yeah.
it starts getting more advanced communication, it's cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, we can tell that she's starting to kinda mimic facial expressions and stuff now, and, do like the hand on the mouth, ah, blah, blah, thing. So now she figured out she can do it to herself, and then she'll do it to me, but instead it's like smacking me on the face. But she's like,
Yes.
"Look, I've learned this." And yeah, it's cool to see that spark go off, like that kind of the light bulb over their head where they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I just figured out something new and it's something we can do together." So
Yeah.
that's
You can see it
yeah.
like click in their mind, and you're like, you just it just came together for you. Like that's so cool that you're
Yeah.
learning and getting this. We just started potty training. We're on our third day and she's done good pees. I don't know how to do
Okay,
poop
wait.
yet.
Y'all are doing potty training already?
Well, this is the silly thing. So she doesn't want to be on the changing table anymore. She like wants to jump
Yeah.
off. And so I'm like, all right, let's just do the potty training because she always tells me when she's about to go. Like before she poops, she always
Yeah.
tells me. And she
My mind's
pees
just blown
usually.
because I'm nowhere near this yet, and I didn't know you could start this early, but this is awesome. I wanna know.
Yeah. So at least for me, what I noticed is that she always lets me know when she's about to poop. She like will be milking and then she just gets up and I say
Yeah.
poopy, but she says bop bop. And so now we call it bop bop, but that's her poopy. With
Yeah.
pee, she recently switched. So it used to be like just whenever. Now, after she naps, within 5 minutes, she usually pees. So usually I'll just wait with her and then I'll go and change her.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'll just put her on the potty and wait with her there. So we just put her on the potty and she pees. And this is now the third day, but she peed and we celebrated together. And I think
That's
she's
awesome.
starting to get it. We haven't done poopy yet because usually, like, we're on the bed milking and like to run to the restroom,
Yeah.
it already kind of happens. But try it out once. I don't know. Is Sawyer sits, right? She's like fully sitting on her
She
own,
sits up, she's still, like, a little
a little
wobbly,
wobbly.
she's not even crawling yet. She's like I mean, she's so close. We've been saying she's so close for, like, over a month, but she really loves staying on her stomach, so she kinda just, like, keeps her legs dragging behind her and pushes forward.
Yeah.
So she's figuring it out, but yeah, she's still pretty wobbly.
Okay. I would say once she's sitting and like if you kinda know her signs, like, sometimes Paisley just kinda gazes out and I'm like, "You're peeing." But
Yeah.
then you can just, like, sit her on it. I keep because sometimes she wants to get off, but I'll bring her, like, a book or her, like, little squeeze toy or something and, like, keep her
Mhm.
distracted, and then she just kinda pees, and so I'm hoping if we get an early start on it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the harm in getting an early start on it? She's gonna figure it out so soon. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking Jake kinda and I were talking about this, but I was trying to figure out, like, teach her the word poopy or the word this, and they're like, "Well, I don't need to teach her my language. I just need to observe her language, and
Mhm.
she tells me in her own ways when she needs to go, and so if I just pay attention to that and I can be there, because
Yeah.
they adapt so quickly, like, to go for a ride, they know car seats here, we're about to go, like, they learn these patterns,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I'm like, "She's absorbing things so fast, why not introduce it to her right now and just sit her on it?" And
Mhm.
now that she's done it a couple times, especially after naps, because then she's gonna pee anyways, and if I just wait here with her, she's gonna start understanding that, "Oh, I sit here and I go potty."
Yeah.
And like, we did it once, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." And then we did it another time, and she's like, she just did it, and I was like, "You're so smart." And then I'm like, "Of
That's
course, because you just."
amazing.
But, like, it makes sense. You have to go anyways,
Yeah.
and you're there, and then I think by its, like, 3rd, 4th time, you just start knowing that that's what you do, and so
Yeah.
I mean, she just does not wanna be on that changing table. She wants to get up. I don't even know how
Yeah.
to because I don't wanna push her. I don't wanna
Yeah.
hold her down, and Jake doesn't wanna do it at all because, like, I don't know, we don't want, like, a male pushing her down or whatever.
Yeah, I get you.
And so we tried getting the pull-up diapers,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and those are fine because she just wants to stand up on the changing table. She wants to crawl off or stand up, and so we're
She's
just
just ready to
pull
go.
she's so ready to go. This girl is crazy. This girl is so crazy. But that led us to starting potty training early. I don't know if we're doing it right. I don't know if we're doing it wrong, but we've gotten peas in the potty. We successfully clap.
I mean, isn't that
Then
the
we
goal no
change.
matter what age you start? So, I mean
That's what I'm hoping for. I still haven't figured out like the poopy more so because I don't want to clean it. Like in the diaper, it's kind of easy right now. But then once she
yeah.
poops, like we have the little potty where she can sit and go pee. But then we got like
Mhm.
the little stool one for the toilet. And
Yeah.
so we're telling ourselves that we're going to remember that when she gives us the sign she's about to poop, that we're going to run to the bathroom and do it. But usually once she gives the sign, then she poops almost immediately. So we're not quite
Yeah.
there yet. And I thought like, oh, we can just put it in like our bedroom, but apparently you're not supposed to do that because then they learn to go potty in the corner. And then once the potty's gone,
Okay.
they'll actually remember that as the privacy corner and they might start using it as a
Gotcha.
potty. So that's something I
Yeah.
learned along the way. But yeah, so we started potty training. I feel like we're a big girl now, like
Oh my gosh. When you
that's
said that,
kind of
I'm like,
silly.
I'm thinking of her being like a toddler now. I'm like, this is crazy just how but like you said,
Yeah.
they're such quick learners. Like, it's once they are introduced to something just a few times, like I've noticed like Sawyer will grab her spoon and put it in her mouth and stuff. And we've got her one of those little sippy or it's not a sippy cup, but it's like introduction to just a normal cup, but it's got a little spill proof thing on the top. So she sucks it out of the side like a normal cup, but it's got the little handles. And so it's like, it didn't take her long to figure out how to drink out of that. And now she's drinking out of normal cups. And I'm like, well, we kind of just skipped the sippy cup. And it's like, if they can figure it out, why not? You know?
I've been kind of like cautiously treading in the waters of what to introduce to them, because there's these steps you're supposed to take. But then at the same time, like you said, I see her learning with whatever I give her. So then I'm like, instead of learning a sippy cup, if I can give you like an open cup or something protected and you learn it, then why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Because they just learn so fast. And that's something I had to remember, because sometimes I'll show her something and she's like, I don't know if I like it, you know, kind of a little standoffish because it's new. And then sometimes, she doesn't like it, and I'll like forget about it. But then when I remember to introduce it again, second time she like remembers it because it's familiar. And then third time she loves it, whether it's a toy, a book, or whatever. Like if it's something that she's cautious about, by the third time, she's like, yeah, I'm loving this. And so I just need to remember to not give up on things, like not just because she doesn't like something one time. It's just unfamiliar. Like I'm so familiar to things that it seems so simple.
Yeah,
but
I was
like,
gonna say is they gain confidence too, just like we do. Like Sawyer used to be afraid to be in her exerciser because it was loud and kind of wobbly, and now she's like jumps in that thing and it's just all over the place. But she had to figure it out. You know, you had to gain that confidence that she could do it.
which makes sense, because again, if you're thinking about like putting yourself into that environment, I guess I should learn from Paisley, because if Paisley can just like take things on like that, even when they're unfamiliar, I can go to a mommy group and learn how to be social again. God, that girl inspires me. But it's weird that they just take things on and they're just, I don't know, so eager to learn. But if you put yourself in that position when you're unfamiliar with something, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. But then you see it again, and you're like, okay, wait, that's kind of cool.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. I saw this trick that this mom had, and she said that her baby like wouldn't eat. Like that's just her baby and wouldn't really like to eat. But then she would put a video of another baby eating in front of her baby, and the baby would copy the baby. And then a doctor commented on it, and they were like, oh, babies will take up after seeing their peers do something. Like it's different if they see mommy and daddy do it. I haven't tried it yet, but it seems like the key for things. Similarly, my mother-in-law said that often your second, third kid will learn how to walk a lot faster because they see their brothers and sisters do it. And so they can like pick up, because I'm like, oh, well, she can see me do it. But apparently like mom and dad aren't the same, because I guess now that I think about it, when I was still a kid, mom and dad were mom and dad. Like you just don't see them as humans or anyone that was in your situation before. You know, they're just like mom and dad.
They're your protectors, your caregivers, and then babies are like, oh, you're learning too. Like,
but you don't see your parents as ever being kids.
Right.
You like don't, at least I didn't think of them, or like, even when they tell stories, I'm like, well, I was in school, and you're just like, all right, whatever. Like that was so long ago, mom and dad. But it wasn't, because when I think about going to school, it was just like a little bit ago.
No, it's crazy. You don't really think about it until you have a kid, about like, oh, I'm in their position now.
They say that like, wait till you have a kid, and you're just like, whatever, mom and dad, and then it all comes true. They're always right.
I know, it's like, man, I thought I had this one.
Nope. Mom's always right. Has this changed your relationship with your mom at all? Like becoming a mom?
It's been so fun to see her and my dad just become grandparents. My mom's always been, I mean, she's always just loved kids. She works in elementary school, and she'd still volunteer on Sundays, like to work with kids and stuff. And she's always been around kids. But seeing her become Nana has been, it's been really sweet and been really fun. And it's been really cool.
She watches Sawyer on like Saturdays or something, right? You guys have a schedule.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled. So my husband Bane and I, for those who don't know who I'm talking about, we do music at our church. I every Sunday. So like we have to get up early. And so early on, before Sawyer was like sleeping well through the night, my parents would take her every Saturday and then bring her to church Sunday because they live super close. And so just so we could get like a decent night's sleep before, and now she sleeps through the night. So now it's really just kind of for fun for them. And we get a night off from having to do the whole bedtime routine and everything, which is, it's really good, you know, to take that time for yourselves too when you can. But yeah, no, they've been loving being grandparents. And I think it's helped her with, I think, that separation anxiety phase going by so fast too. We kind of talked about that, how like her being over there once a week, she's used to not being with mom and dad for a night. And I think that's kind of helped her to know that it's okay when she's not with us, but there's still that attachment there.
Sure.
So I mean, of course, she's still super excited to see us when she comes, like when we see her Sunday morning. But I think it's kind of helped with her
But she
separation anxiety.
understands that, like, it's
Yeah,
okay. Other people can take
like we
care of
said, they
me. And
adapt. They
I think
adapt.
that's so
So,
fast. And I'm
mhm.
sure that's great for your relationship just with Bane, having that night off. So you're like husband and wife instead of just mom and dad
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
that
time.
was
So just getting that break to still be intimate together, to like not go
y-
back to your ways, because of course you're always mom and dad, but just like I think when the baby's there, you're always just focusing on the baby
oh
because
yeah.
they
And that wasn't our intention at first. It was just we just need a good night's sleep before having to get up super early for work, you know?
yeah.
And but now like yeah, Saturdays have become like intentional for us to mean we still like plan on like getting cleaning and stuff done and everything that we gotten behind on, but also just being intentional about like, oh, we get to actually just be husband and wife tonight, you know? And
That's awesome.
and yeah, it's super important. And I know I feel spoiled because I know not everybody gets to do that that frequently, but it is really important, I think, to do that for yourselves and don't feel selfish about it because it like I feel like having that break, especially early on when it was just we were not sleeping and it was so hard and focus was on baby 24/7. I felt a little selfish at first about like, oh, I'm separated from my baby, but I'm like, I feel like a better mom because I get to mentally unwind now, and you get this time to focus on your marriage for a little bit, and like,
Yeah.
you know, you get to kind of just reevaluate everything and remember what's important, and just you need breaks. Everybody needs
Yeah.
breaks.
Well, it's so important because your baby's gonna need you not just that first year, that just that second year, but Sawyer's gonna want happy parents
Mm-hmm.
all of her life. And so it's important to
Right.
upkeep your marriage to make sure you're staying happy individually and as partners, because
Yeah,
I mean
it's so
you want to be
important.
happy, you want to stay together, you want to show her true love and how relationship operates. Like everything she's seeing, she's learning from. And so she needs to see that happiness, that joy, that togetherness that you guys carry.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just friggin' wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're a reflection to your kid. Like if you're unhappy, they're gonna be unhappy. So you gotta take care
They
of
see
yourselves. But
it. Yeah, and they kind of
mhm.
sense it too. Like
Yeah,
if something's up, they're gonna feel it.
for sure. For sure.
Ugh, God, they're so smart. They're so smart.
I know.
Girl, I'm gonna have to cut it short because I need to get to my baby.
That's all right. I gotta get to mine too. I can hear her out there,
Okay.
Dad.
Okay, ditto. Okay, well, thank you for joining me, and I'd love to do
Yeah,
it
thanks for
again with
having
you.
me. Yes,
Of
this is fun.
course. Tell Papa Bane I say hi, and tell Sawyer bop. Bop her on the little head.
I
Whoop.
will.
Okay, I love you, girl. Thanks
Love
again.
you too. Good to see you.
You
Bye.
too. Bye. All right, thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.